A sensible ruling from the Supreme Court on the issue of gun control. I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.media. It was a 5-4 split decision, but regardless, Quebec's long gun registry can now be deleted. Gun registry data in the rest of the country was deleted a couple of years ago, but Quebec had sought a court injunction to keep their data. They wanted the feds to hand it over. When the feds said no, they brought them to court. Quebec won at the lower level, they lost at the Court of Appeal, and then they lost here at the Supreme Court, where the majority said that the principle of cooperative federalism does not constrain federal legislative competence in this case. Quebec has no legal right to the data. Quebec had argued that the federal government could not unilaterally delete the data, and the Supreme Court said no, not the case. Now, the court did acknowledge that this is a sensitive political issue, but at the end of the day said that's up for Parliament and politicians to decide, not to the courts. As has been said many times, the courts are not to question the wisdom of legislation, but only to rule on its legality. In our view, the decision to dismantle the long gun registry and destroy the data that it contains is a policy choice that Parliament was constitutionally entitled to make. This isn't sitting well with gun control advocates. Wendy Couture from the Coalition for Gun Control was out saying this decision will make Canada less safe.
In the current context, where people are much more attentive to issues around public security, destroying the data on over 1 million guns owned in the province of Quebec does seem incredibly punitive and foolish.
That idea is disputed by Claude Colgan with the National Firearms Association. He has a personal connection to the École Polytechnique massacre that started Canada's major push on gun control. He lost his sister Hélène. But Claude says Couture is off the mark.
This is absolutely not true. The Canadian long gun registry is gone since 2012, and the only thing I can say to them is, where are the rivers of blood? There's none.
And the stats don't back Couture up either. You compare provinces to neighboring states, and in many instances, the states have same or lower murder rates per 100,000 despite having much looser gun laws. For example, in 2012, Quebec's murder rate was 1.3 per 100,000. Vermont's was exactly the same. In 2013, Quebec had the biggest drop in decades and fell to 0.83 murders per 100,000 of population. Vermont's went up to 1.6. That's because they had 10 murders in 2013 instead of 8. And on the other side of the country, in Saskatchewan, the murder rate was 2.67 in 2012 to neighboring Montana's 2.9. But in 2013, Saskatchewan increased to 2.71 while Montana fell to 2.2. The fact is, both of those states, Montana and Vermont, have much looser gun laws than anywhere in Canada. So it's not a question of gun control stopping homicides. It's not a question of that at all. The American murder rates are skewed by a few urban areas with a lot of crime going on. Asked if she should be focusing instead on crime rates and guns involved in gangland-style murders, Couture deflected.
It's interesting, but of course we take an integrated approach to addressing the root causes of violence and to looking at the criminal justice system.
This debate isn't going away anytime soon. It's going to continue for years to come, and it will be an election issue, although the Liberals have so far said they're going to back away from promising a return of the federal long gun registry.